Pablo here with Alabama Wrestling Forums, and I want to thank you guys so much for your support and your awesome feedback. Keep it coming, and well, hope you guys enjoy it.
Oh yeah. What we got?
So I'm here with Thompson's head coach, Coach Weltzin. How you doing, Coach Weltzin?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So let's just start off. So can you give us a little bit about your wrestling background and what got you into wrestling and how it led you to Thompson High School?
Well, so I got cut from the basketball team my freshman year in high school, and the wrestling coach there, Coach Parker, he was like, "Hey, you're gonna come wrestle," and I didn't want to. I was running cross country at the time, and said I was gonna wrestle, so I went and wrestled, and yeah, I fell in love with it, and it's the greatest sport ever for us short guys. But then ended up wrestling at Pelham for 4 years, and then bounced around to a couple different colleges, and finally went to UTC, and told Coach Brands, I was like, "Hey, I want to learn how to coach wrestling," and he said, "Well, great." So I was like a student intern for him for a couple years, and then got married, and then got a job offer, one job offer after like 45 interviews, and that was at Alabaster Youth Wrestling Association, and then they said, in a year we'll have a middle school teaching job open up for you, and that's how I got rolling.
That's awesome. So you mentioned you got to be under one of the greats with Coach Brands. What was that like?
It was a eye-opening experience. I mean, everybody sees the Brands brothers as these intense, yelling at KL Sanderson or anybody across the mat, but really they had a goofy side and liked to goof around a lot. So I mean, it was everybody sees it from an outside perspective, but once you're in that environment, you kind of get to see these other sides of it. So it was awesome.
That's awesome. So tell us how it was like, because coming into Thompson, and I would say what year did you go into the Alabaster Youth Wrestling?
That was 2000. Graduated in 2005, so 2005-2006 season. So I don't know, how did you feel when because Thompson was a new program back in 2007. Were you the first head coach? Yes.
And was that kind of scary, having to be the first coach at a new program?
Actually, it was scary in a way because of where I was. I mean, like, where I was young and I didn't know how to do anything, I guess. But it was also a really cool experience because I got to coach kids in the youth that were sixth graders, and then move up with them through middle school. And so I had them in seventh grade, and then their eighth grade year, we started the high school team. So I got to move up with them. So that first graduating class that I had in sixth grade, had them all for 6 years, and you learn a lot about people in 6 years, and it was cool to kind of see them grow up and mature and go on, and now they're having kids and everything, and it's making me feel real old.
So it's kind of crazy to think that in the last so you won your first state title in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
What was that feeling like, winning your first state title?
So I guess it was awesome in a way. it was a relief because when I first got hired and we started the middle school program, I told the booster club, I said, look, if we don't win a state title in 5 years, I'll step down, be an assistant coach, and we can find somebody else that'll get the job done. So it was a relief. And then it was like, okay, we got to do it again. So it was a relief, and that I guess you finally got something done, and I remember when I first got hired, some coaches that are still coaching today told me that, well, why'd you go down there? You'll know you'll never win in Shelby County. And I guess that I really wanted to prove some people wrong, I guess. So I thought I had a lot to prove and kind of represent this area of Alabama, I guess. So comes good and bad, and pressures either way.
I would say now that Shelby County is probably the hot spot for wrestling, with the So, Coach, what do you think about the whole COVID thing going on?
So, we're starting football up. So I think that's a plus in the wrestling area. Sports are starting back. One thing that I don't think anybody's thinking about that we have going on our side is that we already have medical checks before every event. So taking somebody's temperature and having an O2 sensor on them, as they go in for skin checks and weigh-ins, is not going to crush us in the wrestling world. Another thing is that, we're always preaching to our kids about getting clean and mopping the mats and cleaning our gear and trying to stay ahead of any kind of infection or anything like that. And I think all that kind of just helps our cause, to get back on the mat. When they had the flow wrestling thing where Dake and Taylor wrestled in, just a week or so ago, that those are all the precautions that they went, and they mopped the mats between each matches, and everything was good. They had COVID tests and screenings, thermometers, and going through. So I really, and then if we have to wrestle in a mask, put headgear over it, so be it. I think those are slight modifications that we could do, and it not, change anything up for our sport. So,
you don't think the mask would affect the wrestling at all with the conditioning?
Yeah, but if we're conditioning well enough, I don't think it's gonna, wearing it for 6 minutes is gonna bother anybody, because they're getting to wrestle. If it came down to it, wearing a mask in wrestling or no wrestling, I'm putting a mask on every day to wrestle. So can you give you talk about the first state championship team you had? All right, it's 2011. Well, come on, let's go in this. And so I'm kind of old, so it'll help me to kind of. So, all right, here's our team. Okay, that year. So we had one senior that year, and Jimmy Miller. That's him in front. That's why he's so big, and everybody else is so small. So he was our one senior that we had on that team. He was in the military now. We got so fun fact. Okay, before this class, we had one blind wrestler who had a partially torn retina, and we were trying to get him to wear those rec specs and be able to wear them in a match. So I had to email the National High School Federation and the AHSAA and get them talking. And because of John Trench in the NCAA, he wore those rec specs in the finals. So he actually wore rec specs and got to wrestle that year. So we had Nick Hall. He was a multi-time All-American, state champ for us. And yeah, I mean, he was one of the ones when he was in seventh grade, seventh grade, and we had one eighth grader, our first year of the high school team. They actually are the only two qualifiers we had. So anyway, then we had Cody Alvarado. He was the eighth grader. That was the first time qualifier for us when he was in middle school. And then we have Gould here. He's in med school now. We got several of them that are fathers now. We got Belser. He was the first one I thought was about to die. He was in a car wreck and pulled up on it, and yeah, his dad was telling me to come on and help him fish him out of the truck. It was bad. Anyway, got another one in the military, Clay Anthony, and we got Brewer Gilliland, and man, Cayman Holder. He just had a child, and he's coaching at coaching at Vicious in Gardendale. We got a person in the $1 Million band in college, Alabama's band. He was drummer in the band here. All right, here's another one. Right here, Lloyd. Okay, so Lloyd, he beat the kid that placed third at the state tournament. He beat him right before sectionals. Okay, and he was on our B team because he was stuck in between J.A., Josh Gillespie, Nick Hall, and Cody Alvarado, all in the weights above and below him. So he wasn't able to start for us, but he was one of the ones that would have placed high for us. Another one is Hayden Franklin. He also was right there, and he had Jordan Simpson. He had a grueling match with Jordan Simpson, but he was stuck in the same predicament. And we got Gilsons, got a couple Gilsons in there. You know, Jesse Masters, he was a coach at Huntington for a while. We got. There's that group right there. I mean, they were pretty good.